Yeah, Dad blasted. It would not let me go back into the title I had scheduled, so I had to start a new one. It looks like this will be a two-part update. That's fine. Sorry about this for you guys that are live. I found from experience so far, most people tend to watch the stats on the replay anyway. So the part 1 and 2, that should be somewhat acceptable. So where were we? We were on batting average leaders, American League. And you can see the rest of them that round out the top 12 or so. Runs scored, we've got Frank Robinson leading the league with 30. Teammates Bluffery and Powell tied for second with 28. You're going to see a lot of Baltimore Orioles among the top offensive stat leaders. Killebrew and Aparicio round out the top 5. Okay, you can peruse this again at your leisure. Hits, Tartable, Frank Robinson, and Fregosi, 44. Richardson, 43. Fred Valentine, 42. Then you have 4 Baltimore Orioles. Robinson, Powell, Bluffery, Echebarren. In the doubles category, Frank Robinson with a dozen, tied with Bernie Allen of Minnesota. He had a big double game in his last game, didn't he? I think he just pushed his way into the tie with Robinson. Bluffery and Conigliaro with 10. Yastrzemski, Green, and Richardson round out the leaders with 9. In triples, Knopp and Tartable with 5 leading the way. Paul Blair, Fregosi, Oliva with 4. Conigliaro and Roger Maris with 3 apiece. I'll leave that up there a little bit as we go down to let's go down to the money stats, as I call it. Jackie Warner and Willie Horton lead the league in home runs with 11. Warner tied Horton with that pinch hit shot off the bench in yesterday's game. Boog Powell and Frank Robinson with 10 home runs come in next, and teammate Kurt Bluffery with 9. Then you have George Scott, Rick Reichart, and Jim King in limited at-bats with 8. Whitfield, Colavito, Hall also with limited at-bats. Hall, and then Tresh tied with 7. RBIs, Frank Robinson leading with 31. So again, looking at the Triple Crown stats, all right, even though Robinson, he's a ways behind in batting now, but 331, that's competitive for the batting title. Second in home runs, leads in RBIs. So he's in pretty good position at this point in the season. Teammates Bluffery and Powell with 27, tied with Killebrew, also with 27 for second in RBIs. Horton of Detroit has 26. Blair, Whitfield, Scott, Dick Green, and Tony Oliva rounding out the top 10. Dick Green kind of surprising. Not a lot of power from the Kansas City second baseman, yet he's among the league RBI leaders. Paul Shaw leads the league in walks. Killebrew, Dick McAuliffe, Joe Foy, and Mickey Mantle rounding out the top 5. Intentional walks, Boog Powell has had 4. Several players with 2. Hit by pitch, Tony Oliva by far leads, and he leads the majors, by the way, with 7 hit by pitch. You might remember Oliva was the first player ejected on the ejection chart in this replay. Reichart with 5, several players with 4. Sacrifice hits, mostly pitchers, of course. Jumping to stolen bases, Campy Campaneris with 14, his teammate Tartable with 11. Fred Valentine of Washington with 10. Rick Reichart and Don Buford tied with 9 apiece. Stolen base percentage, Kirkpatrick, Pedro Gonzalez, and Valentine have not been caught yet. They have a stolen base percentage of 1,000. The asterisk indicates current hitting streak. So Richardson holds the season's longest streak with 12, but Hirschberger of Kansas City has a current 11-game hitting streak. Pinch hitting average. Honestly, to me, that doesn't mean that much. It's very small sample size, but interesting nonetheless. Slugging on base, OPS, runs created, total bases. Excuse me. In slugging, it's Powell at 719, K-Line second at 663. Two more Orioles, 3 Orioles in the top 4. You've got Blefary at 661, Frank Robinson 647, Rocky Colavito 5th at 634. In on-base percentage, it's Al Kaline with a whopping 468 on base, Killebrew 457, Blefary and Powell 429, and their teammate Frank Robinson 5th at 414. Also over 400, Joe Foy, Jose Tartabull, and Fred Valentine. OPS leaders, Boog Powell, Al Kaline, Kurt Blefary, Frank Robinson, Rocky Colavito, Harmon Killebrew, all over 1,000. Most of those names you would expect to see there. Total bases, Frank Robinson has 86, Boog Powell in second with 82, Blefary, Fregosi, and Fred Valentine rounding out the top 5. Skipping over lefty-righty. Errors, Petrocelli, Fregosi, and Norm Cash with 8 apiece. And we'll jump down to the pitching numbers now. Sam McDowell leading with 7 wins, Mickey Lolich with 6. Dean Chance, Sonny Siebert, Denny McLain, Paul Lindblad, and Mudcat Grant all have 5 wins. Barber, Palmer, Cott, and Rickert with 4 round out the leaders. In losses, Stottlemyre, the Major League's only 7-game losers so far, and a lot of that, frankly, as we've talked about before, due to poor run support. Jerry Stevenson and Tommy John have each lost 5, and a bunch of guys have lost 4. In ERA, Fred Talbot still leading the way at 1.46. Sam McDowell 1.59. Dave Boswell of the Twins 1.65. El Tiante 1.69. Steve Barber is in 5th with a 2.20. Denny McLain, Dick Stigman, Mickey Lolich, Mike McCormick, Catfish Hunter, all under 3. McDowell, Rickert, Wilson, Chance, and Cott are your workhorses so far. Honorable mention to the Detroit duo, Lolich and McLain there. Games pitched, Jack Akers been in 17. Chance and Rickert have each made 10 starts, several players 9. In complete games, McDowell and the Cott man each have 4, and a bunch of guys have 3. I'll let that sit there for a while as we look at the saves category. Jack Aker, not surprisingly, leads in saves with 12. Larry Sherry with 9. Stu Miller and Bob Lee with 5 apiece. Don McMahon, Al Worthington with 4. Sherry and Worthington have the distinction of not having blown a save, 4 pitchers have tossed 2 shutouts this season. Chance, McDowell, Denny McLain, and Camilo Pascal of Minnesota. I can never remember if it's Pasquale or Pascal. Strikeouts. McDowell way in front with 83. Pete Rickert, his 12 strikeout performance just the other day elevated him into second place with 61. Jim Cott in 3rd. Mickey Lolich 4th. Earl Wilson of Boston 5th. And you've got others. I kind of skim over these. Pitchers batting, very small sample size. What is of note, though, I think this is just for fun, really. That's all it is fun. But You'll note that Jim Duckworth is fifth among pitchers hitting at 364 with a one-hitter's card. So the Duckworth legend grows. Remember, he singled and scored the winning run in extra innings in yesterday's game. Hits per 9 inning, man, there's some impressive numbers there. Look at Tiant and Boswell, McDowell, Talbot, all under 6. Tiant and Boswell under 5, McDowell almost under 5, 501. Ks per 9, McDowell leading the way, Boswell, Bunker, Barber, Stevenson rounding out the top 5, Rickert just outside the top 5. All right, so let's jump over to the National League. We'll do the same thing. In batting, we find Ron Santo leading the league in hitting, 367. Jimmy Wynn, who's been torrid all year, 364. Tim McCarver, 358. Slick fielding shortstop Gene Alley at 354. That's a little bit of a surprise, to say the least. Joe Torre of the Braves in 5th at 350. Jim Pagliarone, the Pittsburgh catcher, at 348. So the Pirates are not only hitting, but they have guys that you don't even think should be hitting that are hitting, right? I mean, Alley and Pagliarone. Becker at 338. Johnny Callison, Rusty Staub, Felipe Alou, Ron Hunt, and Matty Alou. Alou has been hot of late. Remember, he got off to a really cold start, and now he's just pushed his way into the leaders and sits at 314, the real-life batting champion, of course, that season. In runs scored, it's Joe Morgan at the top with 33, Felipe Alou and Jimmy Wynn, 32, Hank Aaron in 4th with 29, and Wes Parker, Maury Wills, Roberto Clemente all tied with 26. Felipe Alou leads in hits with 56. Jimmy Wynn, Glenn Beckert, Joe Torre, and Johnny Callison rounding out the top 5. Clemente just missing. He's 6th with 45. Santo, the batting leader, with 44. In doubles, it's Lou Johnson of the Dodgers with 15. Callison of the Phillies with 12. Felipe Alou, 11. Roberto Clemente, 10. And then we have Eddie Matthews and Jim Pagliarone tied with 9. Menke, Charlie Smith, and Hal Lanier of the Giants round out the doubles leaders with 8. In triples, Felipe Alou leading with 7. Tim McCarver with 6. Wes Parker has 4, and a whole bunch of guys have 3 triples. I'll leave that up a little bit so you can look at that some more as we get to the money stats here. Hank Aaron stands out among everybody with 16 home runs. Remember, he was tied with Mays with 12. Then he had that incredible 4 home run game to give him 16. Mays second with 12, still second in the majors. Horton and Warner leading the American League with 11 apiece. Jim Ray Hart in 3rd with 9. And then we have Billy Williams, Jimmy Wynn, Bill White, and Willie Stargell all with 8. Byron Brown, Don Clendenin, and Willie McCovey round out the leaders with 7 apiece. In RBIs, it's Aaron and Jimmy Wynn with 36 apiece. Rusty Staub and Bill White each 34. Joe Torre's in 5th with 33, with Willie Mays, Ron Santo, Lou Johnson, Johnny Callison, Willie Stargell, and Jim Ray Hart rounding out the leaders. Joe Morgan leading in walks by far with 34. Santo and Wynn with 25, Parker with 21, Aaron and Mays tied for 5th with 20. Intentional walks, it's the toy cannon with 4. Kind of similar to Powell in that the guys leading intentional walks are guys that were hot and don't really have a strong guy behind them. It's a little harder to walk Aaron and McCovey. Okay? Clendenin has struck out the most. Hit by pitch, it's Lou Johnson with 7. Okay, he's actually tied with Oliva for the major league lead. I did not know that. I thought Oliva was the only one with 7 hit by pitches, but Johnson has 7. Felipe Alou and Mr. Hit by Pitch himself, Ron Hunt, with 4. Bunts are mostly pitchers again. Stolen bases, Lou Brock leads the way with 17. Maury Wills 14, Willie Davis with 9. Then we have Adolfo Phillips, Joe Morgan, Cleon Jones, Matty Alou all tied with 5. Brock leading in percentage. Alou and Wills second and third respectively. Willie Mays is grounded into the most double plays. Hitting streak, Felipe Alou has the longest in the majors so far at 16, but Byron Brown of the Cubs has a current 15-game hitting streak going on. And here's the slugging on base numbers. Willie Mays leading in slugging, 629. Pittsburgh catcher Jim Pagliarone, 598. Jimmy Wynn, 594. Tim McCarver, 589. Sando, 583. Lou Johnson, 558. Aaron, 4, 5, 6, 7th place with a 551. Okay, now that surprises me. With 16 home runs, how in the hell is he 7th in slugging? My guess is the low batting average, and he's not drawing many walks. We could look at that. I think Aaron's average is still down, isn't it? Let's take a look at Aaron here. He's hitting 228 compared to 279 in real life, and the on base is very low. So that's exactly it. On base, Ron Santo leads the way at 477, Jimmy Wynn at 450, Jim Pagliarone, Joe Torre over 400, Tim McCarver in 5th at 398, just missing Willie Mays, Adolfo Phillips, Gene Alley. Joe Morgan 379, Hunt 376, Felipe Alou 376, Bob Bailey 374. OPS, we've got 4 guys over 1,000. Sano leads the pack at 1,060. Jimmy Wynn, Jim Pagliarone, and Willie Mays round out the top 4 with Tim McCarver in 5th. That's a little bit of a surprise. Total bases, Felipe Alou. Remember, I'm always giving you his extra base hits total, so that's not a total surprise. 93. Aaron, 2nd with 87. Jimmy Wynn, Willie Mays, and Johnny Callison rounding out the top 5. Lefty-righty, we'll skip over that. Jerry Buchak leads everybody in errors with 10. That's no surprise. Jim Lefevre, 9. Staub, Boyer, and Smith with 8. And we'll go down to the pitching numbers now. In wins, it's Sandy Koufax with 7. Jim Bunning, Bob Veal, Bob Gibson, and Juan Marichal all with 6. So the 3 legendary Hall of Famers, as I call them, of that era. Koufax, Gibson, and Marichal, right where they should be, right? No surprise there. Blasingame has 5 and several pitchers with 4, including ERA leader Tommy Sisk. In losses, Cloninger and Osteen have lost 6. Several pitchers have lost 5. Rick Wise, that's all out of relief, of course. I think it's all out of relief. He may have had a start, but I think he's pitched exclusively in relief this season with a 1,000 winning percentage. ERA leading the majors still is Tommy Sisk. Sisk, another great story, cult figure of this replay, right? Koufax at 1.83, Larry Jaster 196, Don Sutton 197, Ken Holtzman 234. We've got a lot of guys under 3. We've got probably guys under 3 that didn't even make the league leaders. Marichal, Hamilton, Gibson, Durker, Bill Latman, Bob Veal, Wade Blasingame at 288 is the last one listed. Koufax, Bolin, Gibson, Veal, Marichal, Bunning, your workhorses. Claude Raymond has appeared in the most games. Cloninger, Osteen, and Veal have all made 10 starts. Quite a few guys with 9 starts. In complete games, Koufax, Bunning, Gibson, and Marichal all with 5. Now that's, how fitting is that? That's pretty much exactly what you would expect. Bolin with 4 and quite a few guys with 3. Claude Raymond leads in games finished. In saves, it's the Pittsburgh Pirates' Roy Face with 8, Billy McCool and Phil Regan with 7 apiece, Dennis Rybant with half a dozen, and several pitchers have 5 saves. McCool leading in save percentage. Marichal, the only guy with 3 shutouts. Short has 2, a bunch of guys have 1. In strikeouts, much like the American League with McDowell, in the National League, it's Koufax way out in front with 82, Bob Gibson 67, Jim Bunning 63, Don Sutton 60, Bob Bolin in 5th with 56. Marichal closing in with 53. He's in 6th place right now in strikeouts. Pitcher's batting average doesn't mean a whole lot, but there it is. Hits per 9, Larry Jaster, 5.66. Then Koufax, Durker, Blasingame, and Hamilton. That's Jack Hamilton, who just pitched that gem the other day for the Mets. He's in 5th place. Strikeouts per 9, Maloney way out in front. Jim Maloney hasn't worked that much this season, but 11.51 Ks per 9, man, that's impressive. Then you have Koufax, which you would expect. Jenkins, Sutton, and Gibson rounding out the top 5. And that's pretty much it. Oh, you've got to always check out Pappas's strikeouts to walks. It's still just ridiculous compared to everybody else. 11-to-1 K to walk ratio for Pappas. He just doesn't walk anybody. And it's crazy, right? Because half the rolls are on the hitter's card, so he can't control all of that. I don't care how good his control is. He can't control all of that, right? I've got to let the cat out and feed him. So that's about it for the stat update. Sorry I had to break it into 2 parts. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll be back with you in about an hour, a little less than an hour and a half for today's game. In the meantime, thanks everybody for continuing to watch and support the channel. Spokane Steve saying I'll see you a little bit later. Take care, everybody.